Playing heavily protected modern game releases now requires a highly complex method that bypasses your computer's normal operations. Traditional piracy techniques are failing to bypass modern implementations of de novo. De novo is a form of DRM, or digital rights management, designed specifically to prevent unauthorized copying. To get around it, crackers are adapting their approach. That adaptation has led to the rise of hypervisor cracks. If you read the release notes from prominent groups like DoDi or FitGirl, this exact term is now appearing in the instructions. In the past, cracking a game meant replacing a simple executable file in the game's folder. The hypervisor method requires altering the underlying architecture of the Windows operating system. Running these releases moves the crack from a specific game folder into the underlying layers of the Windows operating system. Users attempting to install these releases are finding specific instructions in the setup guides. They are being told to reboot into their BIOS, the low-level firmware that initializes hardware before Windows even starts, and manually change their system settings. It creates an immediate sense of friction when a repack site asks you to manually disable your own computer's defenses. It forces a choice. Is the short-term entertainment of playing one specific game worth the technical changes required to your machine? This balance scale visualizes a straightforward return on investment analysis. It weighs the controller, the value of the game you want to play, against the glowing shield, representing the value of your computer's security. To make an objective decision, you have to strip away the emotional desire to play the release today and examine the specific technical changes being made to your machine. This three-tier stack shows normal operations: physical hardware at the bottom, Windows OS in the middle, applications at the top. A hypervisor crack wedges between hardware and the OS. It intercepts de novo's checks traveling down the stack, bouncing back green, authorized signals to the game. To give this code power, the installation guide requires manually enabling hardware virtualization, commonly labeled as VTX or SVM, inside your computer's BIOS. A normal application is strictly restricted and monitored by Windows. Because this crack operates underneath the operating system, Windows cannot see or restrict its actions. By installing this layer, you are building an infrastructure that functions outside of your operating system's standard monitoring. The required inputs don't end in the BIOS. The next mandatory step is disabling several critical Windows defense features. Guides specifically target VBS, target memory integrity, and core isolation. These tools were built to stop severe malware and rootkits from taking over your machine. Looking at this checklist matrix clarifies the mechanical trade-off. Traditional cracks bypass DRM within the application layer. Hypervisor cracks force you to turn off guards designed to stop malicious kernel-level code. You are removing foundational, system-wide security measures just to launch a single executable file. Turning off these features allows the game to run, but it also leaves the front door of the entire operating system open to future threats. The most dangerous requirement is running scripts that install unsigned drivers provided by anonymous crackers. A driver is software that lets your operating system communicate directly with your hardware. If these unverified drivers happen to contain hidden malicious code payloads, the consequences for your system are incredibly severe. Because this code executes at the kernel level with unrestricted permissions, it hides from standard antivirus. Your scanner may report the machine is clean while the malicious driver is still completely active. Code with this level of access can log keystrokes, steal active session tokens for your browser, and harvest personal data on your drives. Even after you fully uninstall the game, this threat persists. The driver remains active, deep in your system. This installation grants absolute, unrestricted, and invisible system access to anonymous actors. Applying this knowledge practically means evaluating exactly who should proceed with this method. This decision tree outlines the recommendation. If this is your primary computer, the machine you use for banking, daily communications, and personal files, the path leads immediately to a hard stop. Avoid hypervisor bypasses on your main machine. The risk of undetectable credential theft outweighs the benefit of playing a single game. There are safer alternatives. You can play DRM-free builds from platforms like GOG, stick to older releases that rely on traditional cracks, or simply wait for a standard release. For most users, trading digital privacy and financial security to play one game is a negative return on investment. There is an extreme case for power users who insist on playing immediately, despite the documented risks. Safe execution requires strict isolation. You must use a totally separate throwaway PC dedicated solely to running this specific file. Even in this isolated setup, no personal accounts, cryptocurrency wallets, or important documents should ever touch that environment. The final rule of hypervisor cracks is this: once those unsigned drivers execute, the operating system must be treated as compromised. The only known remedy for a system that has run this software is a complete hard drive wipe and a fresh installation of Windows. Hypervisor bypasses successfully manipulate complex DRM, but they require the removal of standard security protocols. For the average user, the resulting risk outweighs the benefit of a free game.